Virtually every time someone gets flipped upside down because of a betrayal in a relationship, after the betrayal happens, they say to themselves, there were all these signs I didn't pay attention to. Maybe the first sign is your partner starts to flirt a bit more when you go out on a social occasion. And not a lot more, just a bit more. And you decide, because maybe you're timid, that's okay. You're not going to do anything about it. It's interesting that it happens. It grabs your attention. And it means something. But what you decide is, it's not worth paying attention to. The next 8 times that you go out, the same thing happens, but it happens at a somewhat accelerated rate. The person starts to go out without you. And so on. There's this progression towards the end state of betrayal. And every time you get a little hint, you put it aside and you fail to take it into account. You're foregoing your opportunity to adjust the relationship at micro stages, because maybe what you should have done the first time that happened is you should have gone home with your partner and said, what the hell's going on? Like, this is what was happening. Why are you doing that? Here's how you should have behaved. And of course, that's going to be a fight. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But it might be a micro fight instead of a the relationship is over fight. And in order to keep a relationship healthy, it needs to be retooled at micro levels constantly. And when they finally do manifest themselves as unavoidable, like when your partner says, I don't want to be with you anymore, or I've been with someone else for the last year, then the whole thing comes crashing down. You're no longer in a relationship, you're no longer in a good relationship, and then all the other things become questionable. How many chances do you think you'll have in your life for like a serious, high-quality, intimate relationship? You probably top out at about 5. That's not that many chances. Plus, you get old quick. By the time you're 45, you're not going to have a family. And well, you can do that sometimes if you're male. If you're female, maybe, but it gets pretty rough. It's tough, it's hard on people. So, not only do you not have that many chances, you don't have that much time. So you got to get it right. So if you get it wrong, it costs you. Like maybe it'll cost you 5 years. And 3 5-year costs is like you've lost things there that you can't replace. You don't have that many chances, and it's costly to burn up the time. A divorce is very complicated. It's not so bad if you get divorced to someone who's reasonable. But often the reason that you're getting divorced is that one or the other or both of you aren't that reasonable. You might be negotiating with someone whose basic goal is to make sure that you don't have another day of success in the next 20 years. And if that's their goal, they will attain it. And there's lots of ways people do that, and they usually do it by holding their children hostage. You want to avoid that. And then, then of course it's hard on the relationship you have with your children. Those are probably the most important relationships you have in your life. It's like, might be parents, might be siblings, might be your partner, might be your kid. When it comes right down to it, your parents are old, and so are you, but your kids aren't. And they're just as close. Plus they need you. And so you start twisting and messing that about. It's hard on your psyche. It's hard on the kids too. When you're in the damn relationship, tell the person the truth and try to figure out what the truth is for you. And don't put up with any nonsense, and stand up for yourself. And also aim towards the good. If you do all those things, then your relationship is probably going to work. If you're trying to do all those things, really, and you have a partner that will not do that, it's a rare person who won't do that if they're stepped along the way properly and they learn how to do it. Now, not everyone's like that, because you do run into some people who are basically devoted towards mayhem and trouble, then leave. But usually the person is a balance of striving for the good and messing about in the hell. And you're both like that when you start a relationship, and you try to tilt it towards the good. And then you won't run into that problem. But you have to do that right from the beginning of the relationship. It doesn't take that much to corrupt a relationship so that it's not really salvageable. Enough mistakes, 3 or 4 acts of infidelity, you're done. You aren't going to come back from that, because the fundamental element of trust has been removed. And then you can't communicate with the person because you don't know if they're telling you the truth, and then you don't know if you're dealing with reality. And if you're not dealing with reality, it's like, good luck fixing that. It's like you're working on a ghost car while the real one is sitting in the shop with the motor out. It's not going to get you anywhere. Don't get in the trouble to begin with. If you are in the trouble, well, then you try to straighten yourself out and see if you can fix it. Your options aren't great. And it depends on the particularities of the situation. Now, I have people that I counsel, it's like, leave that person. And the rule is, they're lying to you, they aren't aiming up. And you won't be able to tolerate being with them for 10 years without becoming resentful, alcoholic, and homicidal. So that's a bad outcome. There's nothing you can do to avoid it, so you might as well leave. You know, you have to have that sorted out. It has to be the truth, because it's no good to leave someone who's struggling in the lurch, you know, when you think, well, I'm with this person, they're not going anywhere, you know, maybe they have an alcohol problem, and they're resentful. It's like, but I'm all they've got. They bloody well better want to fix that, because you're not going to be able to fix it. All that'll happen is you'll end up in the same place. Then there's a ghost of a chance you might pull through it. It's very hard to fix someone, and it's really hard to fix someone who does not want to be fixed. And there's lots of people like that.
There's going to be lots of times in your marriage where you are seriously not happy. And sometimes that's going to be because you're having conflict with your partner, but sometimes it's going to be because all hell's broken loose around you. If you judge the success of your marriage on your happiness, what do you have when it's nothing but suffering? And that's going to be plenty of your life. What you want to have in your marriage is a scrupulous honesty. And I don't just mean that you tell each other the truth, because you can be brutal with the truth. I mean the kind of honesty that's devoted towards thriving in love. And you want to act nobly in your relationship. You want to be reliable and productive and generous. And then if you're lucky, now and then, you might be happy. And you might have a clear enough conscience so that in those rare moments where you are truly happy, you can also enjoy it without guilt. So you aim at something a lot higher than happiness, and then you welcome it if it deigns to land on you for brief moments of time. One of the practices that my wife and I have that really helped us a tremendous amount is we had instituted a policy of regular dates. That was at her impetus. I was resistant to the idea to begin with, but not for long. Put in some bloody effort and get in the mood. When you're exhausted with kids, when you've worked all day, you're kind of up to here and you're tired, it's easy to drop the intimate part of your marriage to number 11 on a list of 10 priorities. And then that's just not a good long-term strategy.